Look, welcome back to Scars from the Playground. It's been a little minute, but I went on vacation in Brooklyn. Yeah, I was all in Dumbo, but Dumbo wasn't treating me just right. So I had to go to the Imbecile Projects, Fort Greene. That and the Farragut Projects treated me real nice, fam. But look here, we back and the show must go on. Scars from the Playground, drop it in the comments. Look, Kyrie Irving defends Drake amid feud with Kendrick Lamar. Look, he say stop comparing Kodak to Drake. Every time Kodak do something, stop comparing it to Drake. You're talking about the boy himself, man. He say Drake transcended so many haters that thought he was never gonna amount to shit and end up doing a whole bunch of legendary shit that will never be topped. You know what I mean? Look, bro, shout out Kyrie Irving for keeping it real and telling the truth, man. Kendrick Lamar is good, an incredible artist, but he left for 6, 7, 8 years, bro. He left for 6, 7, 8 years, and Drake was on top of the game the whole time. Nothing has changed. What Kendrick Lamar did was cute. It helped his pockets, but it didn't end Drake, bro. Drake is gonna continue to do historical shit, bro. Shout out, let's just be honest, let's just be real, man. Shout out Drizzy, shout out Kyrie Irving, and shout out Duckworth, fam, because I like him. But he's not Drake and Drake's not Kendrick, bro. Y'all gotta stop the comparisons all the time. They're not even the same artists. Look, Kanye West announced his South Korea concert. Look, bro, he's gonna be in Slovakia on the 18th, but July 26th, he's gonna be at South Korea's Incheon Monhak Stadium, bro. He's gonna be performing with a special guest by somebody I don't even know, but Kanye West will be there. Might be performing some of the old shit, he don't put out too many details. He's just letting you know he's outside. Look, the Bully album is facing delays. Facing delays, it was supposed to be out last week, a week and a half ago. Didn't drop. Seems like Kanye forgot he even had an album coming out. Let's just be, forgot he put a release date on it. So he's 3 songs here, 5 songs there, maybe, potentially. You just don't know. The man's mind is everywhere. Until Diddy trial is over, he can't even come outside properly, bro. I'm just being honest. Drop it in the comments. Scars from the Playground. Look, Diddy demanded $50K, $50,000 for Cassie for having an affair with Alex Fine. Look, he was paying Alex Fine as a personal assistant. He was supposed to be training her, not training her. You know what I mean? Real shit, though. Real. And it's going to sound like I'm bringing some jokes to it, but I'm not sticking up for Diddy, bro. But man had a job. Diddy was paying him top dollar to train. They wasn't supposed to be forking. Yeah, this was not supposed to be forking. When he found out about the affair, he wanted $50,000 back. Look, a lot of people be like, bro, this nigga tripping. But no. If you paying somebody to do a job and they're not doing that job, but they actually in your old lady, it's a problem, bro. Yeah, that 50 got to be paid back out of that 30 million. You know, I do believe some of that got to come back. Look, Charleston White throwing shots at the Island Boys. Kodiyakredd, to be specific, bro. They asked Kodiyakredd, how was he training to fight a man? Aiden Ross asked him this. How was he training to fight a man with one eye? Charleston stopped him. If you ain't fight, he wasn't training a man that with one eye, so he wouldn't know how to fight me. But Charleston say he trained with a sissy, a punk. Yeah, he went to the LGBT community, community, to, you know, really see how these sissies and this punk was swinging. He said the punk was wearing his ass out in that ring, but it taught him how he needed to move. Look, bro, I want to see this. I want to see Charleston White fight the Island Boy, Kodiyakredd. Now, neither one of them can fight, but that's what makes the situation fair. If you ask me, I'm just being honest, I'm just being real. Drop it in the comments, bro. Shout out Charleston. Shout out the Island Boy, Kodiyakredd. We gonna see what they do. And if they fought already, Excuse me, but I've been in New York. Look, DJ Vlad throwing shots at Drake. Drake say he lost $80 million sports betting on stake. Look, Vlad says cap. Vlad says cap, it was nothing but a marketing tactic designed to draw attention. He say these are promotional theater type bets. They're not genuine risks. Look, Vlad, it don't matter if I'm betting with my money or yours, nigga. Yeah, I still take it serious. That's what Drake at with this thing, bro. He don't care if he's betting with the house's money. He's set to make something if he wins. You know what I mean? A loss is a loss, bro. When you a winner, it don't matter what the loss is, small or big, you don't get used to losing. That's what Vlad don't understand. Look, shout out Drake. That man has wagered over $100 million sports betting. Loses most of the time, you know what I mean? $8 million is nothing to him. He's lost way more than that. Let's just be honest. Let's just be real. Of his own cash. The man bets on everything. Drop it in the comments, man. Vlad, chill out. Man, chill out, fam. You talking about some shit you don't even know about, bro. Look, Chris Brown kicked the fan out of his concert in Cardiff, UK. Yeah, this is in the United Kingdom. The man was in the middle of performing one of his hits. Turn the music up, you know what I mean? Before, while he was performing, he's interrupted by a flying beverage. Now, we don't know if it's juice, liquor, or what, but he stopped to let him know, don't throw a motherfucking team on this stage again. You know what I mean? Said the fans say she was sorry. Allegedly, it was just an accident. Look, he pointed at the security. I'm gonna do that again. He pointed at the security. That's get out of there, you know, and get out of there. The slippers count. I'm gonna tell you like that slippers count. Now, I don't know if it was an accident, but people are saying it couldn't have been no accident the way that drink came up flying. She was trying to prove a point. What that point was, we may never know. You know what I mean? But don't say it was an accident. Look, when you go to these places, know how to conduct yourself. Act right, act properly. Would you want a drink thrown on your motherfucking ass, whether you was a superstar up there singing or the motherfucker in the crowd? You don't want to be hit by a flying drink. Drop it in the comments, man. Look, Rick Ross honored with his own street name in Clarksdale, Mississippi. This is on Juneteenth. Look, they honoring his heart and what he has done for the city. Despite this man always repping Florida, he's never forgotten about his roots, bro. That's what matters. Never forget where you became the person you became, bro. Point blank period. The man is honored with his own street name, Rick Ross Way. Ceremony held outside of his Wingstop. Look, bro, this is some bullshit. This is some bullshit. Despite Rick Ross having had a hit musically in years, fam, in years, if you ask me, that's up to debate. But haven't had a musical hit in years, but he's still competing with that Manyon. That is to be saluted, that is to be respected. Shout out Rick Ross, man. Scars from the playground. Drop it in the comments. Look, Ja Rule paid tribute to Irv Gotti. Look, this is his Hot 97 Summer Jam performance, bro. And he brought out some Murder Inc. stars. Look, he say Irv Gotti never stopped pushing for the culture. Look, Irv was a motherfucker. Yeah, Irv was a motherfucker. But he wasn't all that bad. Yeah, he wasn't all that bad. You know what I mean? Real shit. He did a lot for hip hop. Drop it in the comments. Now, 50 Cent woke up a sleeping giant. Ja Rule is a sleeping giant. I know a lot of people think Ja Rule friendly, but Ja Rule had hits, fam. Ja Rule was a commercial success. If Ja Rule was to start rapping that same shit he was rapping right now in 2025, he'd be more relevant musically than 50 Cent. Let's just be honest. But 50 Cent woke him up when he said he was smoking that Gotti pack. Look, that made me look at 50 way different, bro. I thought he possessed something. I thought Boo Boo possessed something at that age. But man, 50 turning 50 didn't change him. But I salute them. Everybody, you know, you're responsible for your own character. Be who you want to be in this motherfucking world. You know what I mean? For the time that you have here. Drop it in the comments, man. Shout out 50. Shout out Herb Gotti. R.I.P. Herb Gotti, my bad. Shout out Ja Rule. Point blank, period. Drop it in the comments. Look, 50 Cent responds to Fat Joe's assassination attempt. Look, Fat Joe is being sued for a whole bunch of child sexual assault and all type of other shit. You know what I mean? But this one right here hit quite different. Allegedly, Dixon alleges during the middle of their beef, 06, 07, Fat Joe hired a couple guys after tracking down 50 Cent in New York. Hired them to take 50 out. Well, look, when they approached, well, they didn't approach, but as they were scoping this thing out, they realized 50 got some Navy SEAL type security with him. They were scared, bro. They backed out of it. Didn't even want to make the attempt. It was too risky. Well, 50 Cent responded to that. He said it sounds like it's all cap. He hate to see Joe going through this. I don't know. You know what I mean? I kind of believe it. I'm obliged to believe it because Fat Joe ain't who people think. Point blank, period. The truth is going to come out. Scores from the playground. Drop it in the comments. Look, Eminem, Stalker, received 30 years in prison. 30 years, bro. Convicted after breaking in for the second time. 15 to 30 in prison. First degree home invasion. Plus, he got 3 to 7 for aggravated stalking. Look, he broke into Eminem's spot in 2020. Eminem woke up with the nigga standing behind him. Eminem asked him why he was there. The man responded, he was there to kill him. Yeah, he was there to take him out allegedly. Now, this second time, luckily, he was caught again. Yeah, luckily, he was caught again. When it get this bad, they're not gonna stop, bro. And if the man say he was coming there to take you out, you better believe him. Had you not woke up, it'll be a whole different story we'd be talking about old Eminem. So yeah, he pressed charges. And that man got 30 years in prison. Y'all drop it in the comments, man. Scars from the play. Look, Kodak black white boogers on a fan's head. Look, bro, he was partying in a Mona club in Miami, picking his nose. Real good. Picked him real good. This is some nasty shit, too, by the way. BTW. This is some nasty shit. Some of the nastiest shit I ever heard of this guy. Makes me look at him quite different. But look here. Picked his nose, kept picking it till he got something real good. Rubbed it on the fan's head while he dancing on the stage. She dancing off. She don't know what's going on. He rubbing it in her hair. Didn't stop there. Kept going. Kept picking his nasty fucking nose. And as he gets some particles out of there, he's putting it on her head. Look, he need his ass whooped and his pockets cleaned out. I'm just being honest. I'm just being real. This is a nasty motherfucker. I don't like nasty shit, bro. If you add to the vile and disgusting shit that's happening in this world, you need to be smacked, slapped, and your pockets cleaned out, fam. I'm just being honest. I'm just being real. Drop it in the comments. Scars from the play. Look, Shannon short throwing shots at Jim Jones. Look, Jim Jones say he was more relevant or did more for hip-hop, in hip-hop, than Nas. And he's talking numbers, fam. He's talking numbers with all the balling. Look, bro, don't disrespect Nas. That's one thing, bro. You can't disrespect Nasir. Sincere. Look, my nigga Sincere, you cannot disrespect him. Look, Shannon Sharp said ain't nowhere in this world or whatever you cannot fuck with Nas, fam. Point blank, period. I don't know what Jim Jones is talking about, but it's all blasphemy, bro. Blasphemy. Illmatic came out when Nas was 15, 16 years old, fam. That's all you need to know what type of nigga Sincere really is, bro. It ain't nowhere in the world that... Look, Jay-Z can't even fuck with Nas, nigga. That's up to debate. Y'all drop it in the comments. Scores from the playground.
If they throw it, I'ma catch it to play the game like Tetris. I'm one of a kind rap, people tell me I'm a clipper. I've been working 24 hours, summertime to winter. I ain't really at the chill, it gotta be about business. Big